One group is not listed. The federal government who gets the underwear bomber on the plane, the federal government that flies the hijackers into the U.S. under protection, the federal government caught funding al-Qaeda, giving them Libya, now shipping them into Syria publicly. The one group that's actually running the terror attacks, Oklahoma City, Gulf of Tonkin, Operation Northwoods, Operation Ajax, Operation Gladio, NATO option, the one group caught over and over again carrying out terror, the group that stands to get more power, the group that stands to be able to cover it up, that has the means, they're the one group you can trust. They're the good guys. They'll keep you. The one group openly putting poison in our water supply. The one group caught shooting old black men up with syphilis. The one group radiating foster children to death on record. The one group 5 years ago, New York Daily News, grabbing foster children and testing pesticides on them till they die. You can trust the federal government. That's the group. Everybody else is a terrorist.
What do you mean I can't get to work on time?
All right, I'll take your phone calls in this segment and the next. And Ed Asner's joining us. I'll get into Iran with him and a lot more. He's got a new film they're working on coming out. I want to give you a first look at that. I'm going to go back to your calls here in a moment. Look, all I'm here doing on air is screaming Mayday, Mayday, and giving you more documents where they are putting stuff in the water, where they bragged about putting it in the water, how they're going to bankrupt you and have sterilization vans come by if you're on welfare. That's why they want to shut down the economy so you go on welfare. The head of the UN calling for global government. It's all here. And these globalists fancy themselves as scientific dictators in their own words, and us as animals. And so that's why they just dictate to us and lie to us. Even when we catch them lying, they just keep doing it because they're following a program. And it's going to take fully awakening, because to wake up, you got to admit there's a global dictatorship forming. They're shutting down free speech, buying up the media, and jacking the food and water as much as they can, and trying to block people from getting non-GMO. While lobbying us all day how they're the environmentalists who are concerned about carbon dioxide, which they just use as a power grab. See, they're able to take over because they always control the major opposition. And I want to tell people that serve the system at the mid-level who know a little bit about this, I mean, you're destroying your own future. You're like, well, it's my job, though. Well, you're destroying your own future. Let's talk to Mark in Oregon, and then we'll talk to Tyler and Brooke and others. Go ahead, Mark.
Hello, Alex.
Yes.
And Alex, I always pray to Almighty God for your successful mission and your safe journey. I really care about your welfare, brother. Alex,
thank you.
I've called today basically to follow up with you on the proposed social networking website that you said that you were planning on.
Yeah, I always get busy on other projects, but I'm going to march back there. Funny you call about this, and talk to my IT people and say, look, everything else goes on hold till this happens. Because there's some kind of idea or culture. This happens everywhere. When something isn't finished or done, it's like almost like, well, the tribe has deemed this isn't going to happen at a subconscious level because it's seen as more work to do. It is going to happen. We're going to launch it.
Alex, I thought my call was really the impetus of it within me is in relationship to the Ron Paul campaign and how this would supercharge that campaign, as well as spread the publicity.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we had it. Would have been nice, but we were just finishing all the other work. I have a tendency to take on more projects than I can finish and let other people stick projects in front of me that aren't my project.
I understand that, Alex. But I can't think of anything else at this point, given the situation with the Ron Paul campaign being stymied in the mass media, as well as being stymied, even more importantly, at the voting booth, so to speak, in these primaries.
There's been fraud everywhere, and people say, why does Alex support the campaign but say there's fraud? Because he's gone from getting 10% to getting 20, 30%. He's clearly in first or second place, and the fraud's being evidenced. You got to send Ron Paul in there like a probe droid to take enemy fire to show the enemy's position and what they're doing and to grow the movement. So the only way you lose is not fighting. But these crooks are criminals. Of course they're going to cheat. Of course they're going to steal.
Alex, in the old days, for a candidate to dispute the results of the voting was normal, and I think that Ron Paul should do that, take him into court, and let the social networking website go to work. And
I hear you. Look, I hear you. I appreciate your call. Believe me, we're trying to get everything we've said we're going to launch launched.
Alex Jones.
Okay, I'm ripping and roaring to take your calls. Ed Asner just asked to be moved to tomorrow because he had a bunch of stuff come up, and my producer said, why don't you just come on the last 30 minutes of this hour? Because 30 minutes is great. We'll just get him on then. That way I can cover more calls and your news. That's so important. I've gotten to some of it, but not a bunch of the really key stuff, which I tend to do, as you know, on the economy in Iran. Big developments there. I want to continue with your calls right now. I got off into eugenics pretty much for the last hour and a half or so because it's the big kahuna, the big issue. Tyler in Wisconsin, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Hey, first caller. I've been listening to you regularly, almost on a daily basis, ever since I first heard about you. You know, I apologize that I didn't really become fully awake until I started following your efforts, and I know that you're the leading charge of this information war, so, I appreciate everything that you've been doing, brother. And I think really you guys are hitting close to home today. You guys have really been, doing the lead of the fight, but we need to really focus on Ron Paul. He's the man that's out there. He still has position in this government that we have today. And, I actually received an interesting email from the campaign manager of Ron Paul within the last day or so here, talking about how they're going to be challenging, the vote in Maine. And so, we need to move beyond that. We also need to solve the problem by getting a Glass-Steagall Act in place, just like your guest, from a few days ago I talked about.
So what was the email saying specifically, though?
Well, if you don't mind, I can get into it here. It says, tonight I saw dueling examples of how much the establishment is scared of Ron Paul and his message of liberty. Ron Paul will win the most delegates out of Maine tonight. In fact, he will probably even win the beauty contest straw poll the media has already called for Mitt Romney, even before all the votes have been tallied. How can that be, you might be asking yourself? Simple. The national political establishment and their pals in the national media will do anything to silence the message of liberty. It is up to you. It is up to you and me to stop them. That includes you, Alex, and me. And, we're all out here doing this together. So, I appreciate your efforts. And,
I think it's safe to say that the audience of this radio show, and I think I've covered like 5 Ron Paul stories already today, and I'm glad Ron Paul supporters are calling in, lobbying my show and campaigning on my show. But, I think it's safe to say we've been behind Ron Paul. I've been behind Ron Paul for 17 years. It's now 17 years on air. I'd been on local radio with a Saturday night show for about a month when I was able to get Ron Paul on because his district then came to South Austin. And so I've been interviewing Ron Paul for 17 years, and I'm supporting him as best I can, and have done just all sorts of things. I have PACs on, to promote what they're doing so people can get behind them. And I agree that Ron Paul has come further than most of us ever thought he would. And it's just an example of the dinosaur media losing its power, that despite the fact they put in everything they can, they're still having trouble suppressing Ron Paul.
And he's doing another money bomb tomorrow, too, actually. Valentine's Day money bomb. I don't think I heard you mention that yet. But for all of you Ron Paul supporters, if you weren't aware, tomorrow's another big day for us.
Yeah, we did. He had a money bomb over the weekend. We linked to that. Are you saying I'm not supporting Ron Paul?
Oh, absolutely not, Alex. I know that you're the one that's leading this charge here, and I just really want everyone to be fully aware of the things. We really need to front all these issues and really take everything on.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I appreciate your call. I had Lou Rockwell on, and we spent like almost an hour on Ron Paul and how we should get behind him and support him just a few days ago. I constantly talk about Ron Paul. At a certain point, though, for a news radio show, I can't just talk about Ron Paul. Also, I'm going to be honest with you. I like Ron Paul. I support him. But all these admissions that they're putting poison in the water, giving us cancer, bigger than Ron Paul. And Ron Paul is the old generation fighting the New World Order, did a great job. He doesn't get into the eugenics and stuff. I've got to tell people that the psychos running things aren't just wanting to steal your property. They want to kill you. Okay? They want to kill you, and they are killing you. Got some breaking campaign news, and I'm going back to your calls. And Ed Asner, a famous actor and former head of the Screen Actors Guild, is going to be joining us to give us his take on the Iran situation, the Syria situation, and moves towards a police state, as well as 9/11 truth. But there's a new article out at Infowars.com and Prisonplanet.com. Obama to unleash truth teams to counter negative campaign coverage. Remember the newscast 4 years ago where they, in Missouri and other areas, had truth teams, truth squads that would call the police and have you arrested if you lied about Obama? They had cops on the news with straight faces going, we'll be arresting those that say he's not a Christian. Well, lying, even if people were lying or were mistaken, is adjudicated in a judicial court. It is adjudicated in a civil court, and you don't have police arresting you because they say you're lying. So it's all part of the intimidation. And Steve Watson's got a great article on this, but I think I'm going to call him up and have him try to find that YouTube video of Obama truth squads. People that lie about Obama to be arrested. Guys, type that in. You'll find the 4-year-old article. Search it under web, and you'll find it there. It's just incredible newscast. A bunch of states were saying, we're going to arrest you if you talk bad about him, because talking bad about him is lying. GOP describes squad of supporters as propaganda team to deceive voters. Well, I've seen a lot of lying by Bill Clinton, by George Bush, by all of them. But, yeah, Obama's a new level. I mean, he says, don't sign the NDAA. It affects citizens. And then it turns out he demanded that section be added for him to be a dictator, basically. And then he said he wouldn't sign it, and then he did sign it. I mean, just lies within lies within lies within lies. Or he comes out and says the stimulus package a few years ago didn't give money to special interest. And then it turned out it did. And then he blamed Senator Dodd at the time for it. And Dodd brought out the letter where Obama said he wouldn't sign it if that wasn't in there. I mean, he is a rubber stamp for the globalists. And the stuff they load his teleprompter with is total lies. And he knowingly gets up there and lies. But again, he's just an actor. He's a nobody, just like Bush was. Obama to unleash truth teams to counter negative coverage. Yeah, these are truth teams. And it goes through all of it. ABC News is reporting it. Oh, he actually did have it. It's actually in the article. Steve did add it. Steve's so good. One Obama truth squad in Missouri vowed to arrest anyone telling lies about Obama and acted to otherwise intimidate anyone criticizing him or his policies. Yeah, there it is. And then you click the article, and it brings up the Infowars.com article from 3.5, 4 years ago, titled, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Truth? And sure enough, there it is. But never fear, they have the independent watchdog that's nonpartisan, funded by Obama and George Soros, because they're independent. Investigation, Media Matters conspires with White House to influence news. Progressive government mouthpiece routinely attacks Alex Jones, Ron Paul. Of course, even calling themselves progressive is a lie. An investigation by the Daily Caller has confirmed that the leftist organization Media Matters, which routinely attacks Alex Jones and the InfoWars, is an Obama administration front that strategizes with the White House on a weekly basis on how to influence and direct the media.